Hello, hello. It's Laura with Queen of Swords Tarot. I'm here to show you guys some of my decks to fulfill my top 10 most curious decks. I saw someone else just do this tag. I think it was Danny Mystic, and she had some really cool decks. So I figured I shall also do it. And as I was going through my decks, I was realizing I have like way more than 10 decks that would fulfill this requirement. So I think I just like weird decks or dark decks or whatever you would, whatever you would call the definition of curious. I think most of my decks are that. So I picked the top 10 or like the most curious that I thought, or the weirdest decks, the darkest decks, that kind of thing. But we'll take you on a little tour here. So starting off, let's do here I just flashed you a preview. We'll do the kind of the most obvious suspects here, all of Patrick Valence's delicious work. So here is his playing cards, the Royal Mischief transformational playing cards. I just got this deck. It's a signed copy. So here, put this over here. These are super, super cool. Let me get you a little bit closer. And confession, actually don't really read playing cards, but I got them for the artwork. What can I say? They're so beautiful. This is, well, okay, so I got a copy for myself, and then they had another copy that was signed on his website, so I also bought that because I have no self-control. And the first one that I bought was for a friend of mine, my tattoo artist, for his birthday, because he collects playing cards. And then the second one is for myself. So my project is to learn to read playing cards. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, they're so cool. It's so clever. Like, all his work, it's just so witty and fun, dark and clever. I love it. It's in order because I haven't really, obviously used it except to flip through. Bird breath. He's always got like a certain distinct commentary in all his work. Love it. It's like every time you look at his cards, you can see something new. Sorry, the glare is kind of bad on these. What are you gonna do? I love his use of the actual like spades and diamonds and hearts in the artwork too. It's like sometimes you don't even notice it. We're missing a limb and we don't even notice. I think one of his Marseille decks is like that too. There's lots of missing limbs. Nice. Nice, toit, smart. I love it. Okay. So that's, oh my gosh, I love the eyeball reading. Awesome. A proper read. Cool. All right. So let me get this out of the way. That's our first Patrick Valence deck. And our next one, of course, the one everyone's seen, but I'll flip through it just in case, is our Deviant Moon. And I have like, pathetically, I have like 3 copies of this deck. This is my favorite one. It's the borderless edition. Just because, I don't know, the artwork is a little bit easier to see. When I first got the Deviant Moon, I got the one with borders, and I feel like it's just difficult to read with. It's very quirky. Has so much personality. And his interpretation of the major and minor arcana is so different. It definitely brings a certain style of reading that makes you, look at yourself and also the way you read in a totally different way. his interpretation of tarot is, I think, the very definition of curious. It's like you've entered into a Venetian carnival, and it's almost a nightmare, but in a good way. I love it. Very, very steampunk. Very sort of adult Nightmare Before Christmas. It dares you to go into the Pluto areas of your life, the Scorpio areas of your life, unabashedly. Okay, so we shall move on. Last Patrick Valencia deck. This is Garden of Lucid Daydreams. It's an oracle deck. If I can get it open. There we go. I love the box on this, but they've kind of put one card and expanded artwork on it. I just appreciate it. I think it's beautiful. Okay, this is also a newer deck for me. I ordered it with the Royal Mischief, and it's really cool. Very curious. Very interesting. It reminds me in certain ways of the Morgan's Tarot. Because, I mean, if you're familiar, the Morgan's Tarot is, like, not a tarot at all. It's very much just an oracle deck with sort of these Age of Aquarian type themes. You know, saying, like, teehee and what are you thinking now, that kind of stuff. I think it's from, like, the 70s or 80s, something like that. I have a copy. But this reminds me of kind of a shadow version of the Morgan's Tarot. Just lots of random shit, but definitely, you know, picks at you in very specific ways. And I love it for that reason. It definitely, it has had a lot of thought put into it. They're complex yet, I don't know, that's a silly way of putting it. I was going to say complex yet simple images, but they're, you know, they're simple images, but they have a lot of conceptual complexity to them. I haven't had a chance to look at the guidebook yet. Like, this is so thought-provoking. As you as the flower. Yeah, I love it. Very aptly named, too. As Garden of Lucid Daydreams. Oh, I love this card. So deliciously uncomfortable. Alright. Moving on. Always love a little Patrick Valencia in my day. Okay. So, next. This is curious in a little bit of a different way. Let me back us up a little. This is called the In Dreams Oracle deck. It's by Boris Indrikov. I think I'm saying that correctly. It's a mass market deck. I got it at kind of like a local metaphysical shop. It's, yeah. So it's picked up by US Games. And I enjoy this deck a lot. Beautiful backs. It's definitely one that you have to engage with the guidebook to use, unless you're going to kind of use it totally intuitively. But the artwork is, wow, sorry, gnat. Just buzzing around. The artwork is just so detailed. Really, really gorgeous. I bought it, you know, self-admittedly, quite purely for the artwork at first. But, you know, as I got to know the deck better, I realized that it's actually quite nice to use purely intuitively. You know, if you open a tarot reading with it or close it with one of these, regardless of whether you use the book, you can get a lot of intuitive hits off of it. I think because the artwork is so intricate, scrolly, it kind of takes you into that daydream type zone. You'll notice that it has a lot of, you know, instrument type imagery, and even when instruments aren't featured, it continues that kind of line work, you know, like violins, piano strings, cellos, and it makes you think of sound waves and just music in general. It sort of taps you into that, I don't know, sound healing type feeling. And that's I don't know, it's a very unique thing to pull into a reading. Like all these different additions to their costumes, clothes, whatever you want to call it, and these fanciful creatures are just, I don't know, very otherworldly. And like in this one, it's kind of, you know, strength-like card. You'll notice here and in other cards too, a lot of times the mythical creature and the human are joined in some way. And that, you know, lends itself in you know, your reading and helping you interpret the message that you get from the tarot, then also the card, whatever it is that you need. Like here, lots of harp imagery. She is the harp. Super gorgeous. And I mean, it's an odd one, for sure. It's curious, but in a very beautiful way. And that is definitely the type of deck that I love. And I like it too because, you know, the people in here they are people, but they're kind of like alien type people, or like I said, otherworldly type people. So, you know, can you ascribe them human characteristics or, you know, race or ethnicity? Not necessarily. They're not of this world. They're so different. So it's, you know, nice in that regard. Okay. We're losing our cards. Okay. Moving on. So, sorry. I think I say this in every video, but I apologize for all my snuffling in the background because my allergies are so bad right now. So this is our next one. It is Tarot of the Tattoo Age. I think I can also blame Danny Mystic for making me buy this one. I just saw this on her channel. She did like a walkthrough. And I'm a huge tattoo enthusiast. I collect them all the time, compulsively. And when I heard that this deck is a compilation of, you know, all the cards are illustrated by different tattoo artists, I was like, okay, I have to check this out. So I looked at the list of illustrators and I recognized like half of them. So, of course, I bought it right away. It's awesome. And I do. I love the deck. It's really, really cool. So let me pull this out for you guys. I would say that this deck is odd and different. You know, a good addition to the cabinet of curiosities in the sense that it is, you know, a collaboration deck. And it's a collaboration of very uniquely artistic people. You know, people that maybe didn't know the tarot, but were smart enough and intuitive enough, and took the topic seriously enough to really look into tarot and try to understand each card before they went about, you know, creating their assignment. You can tell that they cared. You know, even though this deck may not like totally flow together, all the art styles may not go together, to me it's okay because every card has so much thought put into it that it goes together in the sense that it's a smart deck. It's really intelligently made. I can sense that, you know, the artistic mind of a tattooer is behind each and every card. And they're different. I've never seen a deck like this. They're, you know, curiouser and curiouser. There's a number of cards that the stickiness. That bugs the crap out of me, I'm not gonna lie. These cards. It's like when I first got it out of the packaging, I had to do that thing where you like crack the deck in half to split up the cards just because of the lamination, but that still they stick together. So that's a complaint that I have. And more than that, which is a bit annoying, but check out this Temperance card. I love this. More than that, when you're peeling them apart, they like will sometimes rip a little bit of the card behind them off, which is annoying, I know, and it damages it, but I still love the deck. I can't help it. Oh, so cool. So cool. So many of these cards are just, like, they're an individual piece of artwork on their own. And I could just, you know, I wish I could blow it up poster size and just hang it in my house. Like, if I was gonna get a tattoo of the tower, or maybe not the star, but a lot of these, like the lovers, the tower, so many of these cards, I would totally get a tattoo of this because they did such a good job interpreting it. Oops, sorry. Oh, like, I love this world. Super awesome. And they have also two, also this Ace of Wands. Totally a tattoo I would get. Fabulous. They have two Fool cards. I don't know if I can find them for you. One of them is, the one that I like better is the one that I'll show to you. If I can find it. Ah, they're so sticky. Oh my god. Okay, I'm going to pull it off camera for a moment and find it. Hear me cracking away back here trying to find it. It's so bad. I feel like I'm like abusing this deck every time I pull it out. I know, not a good advertisement for like looking for it, but or for buying this deck, but I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry, I can't find it. I apologize. I talked it up, and now I can't find it. Anyway, all right. I highly recommend that you Google the Fool of Tarot of the Tattoo Age, because it's super cool. Gosh, I don't know. Anyway, sorry. That was entirely anticlimactic, like the definition of anticlimactic. All right. Sorry. I apologize. I would spend more time if it wasn't like I'm having to pry them apart with the jaws of life. Anyway, beautiful deck. Quite curious. Moving on. Next I have Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. Another unbelievably glossy deck, but onwards and upwards we go. So this is a low Scarabeo deck. Very easy to come by. And this is like, if they were going to make a deck of how I dream, this is definitely that deck. It's very, sorry, cards upside down. Very sort of out of proportion. It's a bit female-centric, but not in a bad way, in a good way. Kind of, you know, watery, I would say, in terms of, you know, it's a very emotional deck. It makes you take a really good look at tarot in general and the meaning of the tarot cards, because this deck definitely takes a new spin on each tarot card and the traditional attributes and meaning of the cards. Let's see if I can... Yeah, see, everything is quite, you know, perspective and proportion is really played with in this deck. And how certain characters are looking at you kind of is a little bit uneasy, And I think that's part of what makes this deck quite curious. Sorry, cards all over the place. I don't even read reversals. I just am a lazy shuffler. But yeah, like having, you know, normally the Ace of Cups is a very, like, happy card. It's overflowing with joy. But this has, you know, a skull on it. The whole tone of it is totally different. And I love this Judgment card. It's like it's a call to sort of living a better life and waking up, becoming your best self in the traditional sense. But in this card, it's like there's nobody waking up, or it looks like an empty graveyard. She's calling and there's no one there. So it really makes you rethink as you're reading the readings that you do from this tarot. It makes you rethink quite a bit. It's a great deck for shadow work, sort of self-development work, relationship type work. I love this Death card. Definitely a new take on it. A little bit more positive. And that's what I mean, like, you know, the cards that are normally a little bit more, I guess you would say, negative, they put them in a more positive light. Or the ones that are generally more positive, they have you take a harder look at them, or maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say negative, but they make you re-examine the values that you placed on them. And just super interesting, non-conventional imagery. Highly recommend the deck to add to your own cabinet of curiosities. It's lovely. Okay. Enough of that. So, next, of course, wouldn't be complete without our Nicoletta Ciccoli tarot. I have the Oracle as well, but I figured, hey, we'll get the idea. Enough with the tarot. Here's our backs. I think most everyone knows this deck, but it's a curious deck, right? What can I say? It kind of plays with the whole tarot structure. It almost acts like more like an oracle deck than it does a tarot deck. It's, for some, it's an inner child deck. For some, it's a shadow deck. For some, it's both. For some, it's just, you know, it's a little too much to work with until you're ready, which is totally fine. But I think this deck has value, you know, arguably it has value for everyone. Maybe not immediately, but whenever you're ready. Because I think it has common themes that we all have run into in our childhood. Or in our, you know, kind of the Bildungsroman of our life. And it benefits us to kind of go back and re-examine how those events and things have impacted us today. Great to use alongside the Oracle as well. I like using this one, the Nicoletta Ciccoli. I can never say her name. Oracle, and then the Goliath together. Definitely it's not so much like a weird deck as it is just, it's off-putting for sure. Makes you think. And I would not be without it in a cabinet of curiosities. I think any deck that is just kind of thought-provoking and how can I say? Yeah, thought-provoking and makes you take a different look at life is warrants being in your cabinet of curiosities. So this is the Tarot Nuages. I think that's how you say it. And this one, I don't see it mentioned super often. I think it might be an older deck, but also mass market, I believe. I think it's US Games. Yeah, US Games. So here's the box. And this is kind of a fun little tarot. This one, I'm going to be honest, is just, it's more on the weird side. Just kind of a weird tarot. But hey, I love it just the same. I don't actually use it super often. It's kind of like more of a Halloween-y type deck, at least for me personally. Well, you know, strangely enough, it's kind of like an autumn and a spring deck. Like, I'll bring it out springtime and Halloween-y time, like I said. I think because it has sort of this gremlin energy. You'll see in kind of more of the pips. And also this fae energy to me. Personally, I think. Like, oh, I love also that the Lovers card is more about choice than it is, you know, the lovers, the traditional lovers meaning. And it's between a male and a female, which is, I think, interesting. I like it. I like it. Yeah, it all just kind of speaks to me of this very, not malicious, but like mischievous, forbidden fairy realm. Kind of the fae realm that's not light and fluffy, but that more kind of, you know, don't mess with it so much, respect it fae realm. I think that's why I like to bring it out in the fall, or not the fall, the spring. And these are the kind of, you know, fanciful creatures I imagine living in that fae realm. Super cool. I love our very ripped hangman. It's like, what's going on there? But it's cool. It's all right. Oh, gosh. Awesome. I should get this deck out and work with it more. Because it's a fun deck. It's very strange, very weird, but it's fun. This is like potentially one of my most favorite devil cards. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty cool. This is a terrible thing to say, but this looks like a devil I would want to hang out with. He looks like kind of a badass. What can I say? Cool. All right. Enough of that. So, very gremlin energy. What can I say? I'll take it. So, I think, what was that? I think this is our 10th deck, I want to say. Oh no, we have one more. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, so this is deck number 9. Can't fit the whole thing on camera without zooming in and out and making you seasick, but this is the Antique Anatomy Tarot. Again, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this. It's a wonderful deck. Let me grab our cards. It's one of those kind of irritating boxes where it's always hard to pry the cards from the little slot that does not have a ribbon. But regardless, we move on. Nice backs. And it's this nice, lovely botanical skulls and just anatomical, lovely bits and pieces. Wow. Which way up? There we go. Laura's not able to read her cards. Oh well. Cool. This is one of those decks that's just kind of for any time of the year. Even though it's very floral, I just use it all year round. It's a delightful deck. What can I say? It just makes me smile. It's so weird, this deck. Like, it's, you know, it's all body parts. You would think that would not be the case. I mean, some might consider this gruesome, but I find it, I don't know, somewhat joyful, which might say more about me than it does the deck. I don't know. I'm also a nurse, so I have an affinity for anatomy. I love the, yeah, because they layer so much meaning in with the anatomy and with the botany as well. I'm also a gardener, so the two things just tickle me in all the right spots. What can I say? Sorry. This is all crazy. I know somebody told me too that the indie edition is, like, the cardstock is not super awesome. This is like one of the few decks where the mass market is a little bit better in terms of cardstock. So I'm not sure that I don't know if that's true, because I have only the mass market edition, but for what it's worth, oh, I just love this card because it's so anatomically correct. Like, it really bugs me when there's anatomy decks, or just like they show, you know, actual anatomical structures in decks and they're wrong. Like, it bums me out so much because all I can do is stare at it and be like, but it's not right. It bugs me so much. So that's why, I mean, I love this deck so much because it's all correct. It's, you know, you can tell that she really went to a lot of effort. It's lovely. Very curious, but very lovely. Makes me so happy. Okay, so our last deck, it lives in this ginormous bag. Okay, is our Goliath. And to me, it's not really like, it's not weird. It's quite beautiful. But it is, you know, it's a bit startling for a lot of people. I think it falls into the same category of curious, in the sense that it's very alternative artwork. And I use it for a lot of the same purposes as I do, you know, the other decks in this whole group that I'm showing you. So for that reason, I included it. Super gorgeous. And it's really a deck that you can tell, you know, the creator made it specifically for shadow work. You know, I know other decks, they also were specifically made for shadow work, but for whatever reason, this deck in particular actually really works for shadow work. Like, of course, you can use any deck for it, but if I'm going to be doing shadow work, this is one of the top decks that I always reach for, because I feel it kind of gets to the heart of the issue. Like, when you're doing a Celtic cross, if there was a deck that embodied that heart of the issue position, it would be this deck. It's definitely not afraid to tell you about your childhood traumas, kind of call you on your bullshit, tell you, you know, that you need to stop working on the surface problem and get to something deeper, get to what's really causing it. Does it in a very efficient, effective, determined way. Such a consistent deck. I use this as my representation of a Scorpio in the a deck for every sign hashtag video that I did. And I've thought about that since. I'm like, you know, this reminds me of a Scorpio friend in that sense, that they give such good advice in those matters, and matters of kind of getting to the heart of a deep, dark issue, but not in an unloving way, just in a very matter-of-fact way. Like, hey, this is your shit. You need to deal with it, okay? And also giving really kind of sage advice on it, not being afraid to dive into the mud. Lovely. Okay, so that's our Goliath. That was our last deck. So, thank you guys so much for joining me. And I hope to see all your curious, weird, odd, and lovely decks. I love them all. And as always, with all my love, we'll see you next time. Bye.